Hey everybody, and welcome to NFTG TV. Today we're joined by the only Bonz Manifest. Man is a legend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, man. You're a legend, bro. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. So today we're talking primarily about prospectors, right? And
Prospectors, the Grand Land. We're only 2 days away from the big launch of the Grand Land. So yeah, prospectors, exciting stuff.
yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. The auctions have been going at pretty pennies, I guess is how I'll word it. But
Yeah, I know. Earlier it got crazy, and I kept trying to tell people in the chat. I'm like, just chill because everybody's competing right now for the same assets. Like, just wait, and then at like clockwork, they came down a little bit about a week, and then it's like it's been like that for every auction. Is like at the beginning, everybody's so anxious to like get their stuff and just have it done, and it's just like chill, just wait. Let it come to you. The prices will come down. Try to wait about the middle of the auction. There's usually a lull, and then it usually gets busy by the end again because then people are like, "Oh shoot, that auction is going to end. I better make sure I get my stuff." And so prices go back up. But there's usually right around the middle of these auctions. But yeah, it's a totally different auction than we've seen too. So in the past, it's been for entire tool shops and in all the different businesses. You could buy like the complete kit. Of course, there was like all the tool sets. So it's kind of crazy and it's really cool, but it's also going to be really different and really big change from what people are used to. Like there's absolutely no tools at the beginning of the game. I mean, it's truly like we're walking into this world and there's nothing but raw materials there, the resources. Obviously in the auction people are able to buy like carts and animals, so the benefit of those is you're going to be able to like obviously move faster through the map, but of course the benefit of a cart or a wagon is so that you can actually carry more resources. So the name of the game at the beginning of the game is going to be who has the tools and how many tools can you create, right? And so, man, it's like there's free plots on the outside too. So in case people don't realize how it works, when you come into the map, there's a gigantic map. All the plots are obviously NFTs. So every plot is someone's private property. You can't basically steal anything off their property. But the whole outside of the map is going to be what they call free plots, which means like they're just kind of like wilderness, and whatever's on the plot is basically there for the taking. So, like, of course, at the beginning of the game, like I said, there's no tools, so the whole thing is going to be about like creating tools by hand, which is like you have to literally like get wood, craft it by hand,
I was
like
playing around with the demo, and yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of steps. The demo was good though. It did a good job at like walking you through those steps. So if anybody's interested in playing on Thursday, I recommend checking out that demo because I don't know if that'll go away, but
Oh
I don't
no, it's
think I
always
would be
been
able to
there.
play on Thursday without that.
You're 100% right, dude. And it no, that's always been there. It will always be there. And I've been telling people, there's still a couple of days. Honestly, if you've never played before, just do the demo and even jump in on the Yukon land on Wax and just play around a little bit and get familiar with like sending your guy to a plot, send him to a free plot, pick up some resources, put it in your backpack, look on the board and see someone who wants to buy that, walk to that plot and sell it to them. You can start making some gold, some PGL right now before this game launches. And then, but more importantly, you're learning some of the mechanics, because yeah, if you haven't played yet, you're gonna like there's a little bit of a learning curve to it, of course. And so the more familiar with you are with the mechanics of the game, the better you're gonna do, because yeah, it's gonna launch, and you're gonna find yourself like, well, what do I do? I need to go find these materials, and there's going to be a lot of people all rushing to those free plots to go get some of that free materials. And so yeah, like you said, do the tutorial and familiarize yourself with the game, and then when it starts off, um, try to build yourself some tools, which is like it's very good to know how to do that, because you're basically right from scratch, like learning all the mechanics. You're going to collect some wood, you're going to fabricate some tools by hand, and then you're basically people are going to probably be paying good labor to build these tool shops, because obviously there's going to be a huge demand. Like whoever builds a tool shop first,
Yeah,
you're
they're gonna be
yeah, you're going to sell tools like by the
yeah.
like
That's the
like
only way to get gold, right? You need
yes.
the pan and the pickaxe to be able to get gold, which you need a tool shop to be able to make those.
Exactly right. And in order to get a tool shop, you need man, it's like, so there's steps even to build the tool shop. Really, you're going to need a sawmill. You need boards, right? You need stuff to build the tool shop with, right? Like boards and nails and all these things. And so like even before you can build a tool shop, you need to build like a sawmill. So someone's going to have to build a sawmill. And this is like where really the cooperation comes in, because it's like really like if there's a group of dudes who are like, all right, look, the game, the game launches and they realize their plot has some trees on it, and they're like, look, I'm going to build a sawmill. And really what's funny is like, a lot of people are like worried about plots, that might not have a lot of resources on them. Like if you own a plot that doesn't have a lot of resources, but those plots are actually going to be valuable, because those plots are going to be the easiest to clear. Like you're going to be able to get all the trees cut down, say, or all the rock cleared or whatever first. And you're going to, because in order to build a building, you have to obviously have the plot cleared. So you can't build on top of a forest. You have to like cut the forest down first and then build your shop. So there's actually a little bit of it's kind of a benefit, if you could call it that, but there's going to be a benefit to having a plot with nothing on it, to be able to build these early shops, which are going to be super high demand. So like, no matter what it is, whether it's a sawmill or a tool shop or an iron furnace, having those like raw materials are going to be super valuable, because people are going to be in a rush to kind of like come up with a tool shop or come up with like a, obviously, like you said, like people need the gold pans, and nobody's going to know how much gold is on their land. Like it's going to be crazy, because it's going to take some time before we see the first gold pans. And then when people do start getting those gold pans and walk around and start exploring those plots, and people are going to find, we're going to start seeing gold plots pop up. Like, oh my God, I'm sitting on 50,000 PGL worth of gold, like 50 million gold or something in this plot, and then people are going to like start doing the math on it. They're going to be like, holy crap, like I could be sitting on that. I need a gold pan right now. I need to check my plot, and
Yeah.
it's going to be like a rush for gold pans, just like, we've seen in previous iterations of the game where the gold pans are like the hottest commodity going, but of course, eventually it'll balance out. There'll be more tool shops. The prices will come down, competition, the free market will set in. The more tool shops there is, obviously people will just, eventually the prices will come down to where everybody, is basically battling for how much profit that they'd like to make. But there's going to be
and location is going to matter too. Like people, I don't know, like
you're exactly right.
If one that costs twice as much is like,
Yep.
I just recently bought one and it was Northeast region. I'm pretty sure it's up here. It's X1, Y, like 39.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that fits on this
You're
map.
Exactly right. You're exactly right. Time is money, right? So like, yeah, like there might
I'm not going to want to travel all the way over here.
Yeah, exactly. So like in that little quadrant you're talking about, like, so like northern region or northeast or whichever region, like each region will probably have its own like little like town center. Of course, like they'll be building somewhere where people will have established shops, like tool shops and all these things. And so it's like, it's a benefit to be, even if you're in the outskirts, if you have like a shop out there, you might be save someone a half a day worth of travel if they don't have a horse. So it's like, of course you have 3 workers, you could send one worker off to the nether regions to go grab a tool, but then he's losing work productivity time, right?
And
So
I'd imagine like the plots over here, most of the people over here aren't going to have like carts and horses to get them into the city fastest. So they'll need or want something out near them.
Well, so as you were pointing out, the carts and horses come from the auction. So anybody can go, and I think the auction is still going on right now. So anybody can have a cart and a horse. So there's going to be people with carts and horses all around the map. And now where the carts and horses are going to come in really handy is, like I was saying before about the free plots. So imagine this: at the beginning of the game, you're going to have thousands of people probably going out to these all the way that far outside edge, that black line, right? And they're going to be collecting materials that are going to be valuable. Wood is valuable. It has a value in the game. So as a player who's just a free to play player, you can send your workers out to the outside of the map and grab your backpack full of wood. And you have now 30 kilograms worth of wood in your backpack. And now maybe someone wants to buy that wood, like, in your quadrant, but it's still 4 hours walk or something, or however far, right? You have to go walk, and then you can then sell that wood, and then you can then walk back out to the outskirts and make more wood, or you stay on the outskirts and you use that, you harvest that wood and you make it into like, you start processing it by hand, like, and then you could sell those boards, like, right? But the point I was going to make was, with a wagon, instead of just harvesting 30 kilograms of wood, you can now get like 250, right? That's the difference. Or like,
Yeah.
like the wheelbarrow is like
So
100.
not only are you faster, but you're bringing more at a time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to grab you could fill up like a whole wagon full of wood. And so now you make that 1 4 hour trip, but you could dump 250 kilograms. You could dump like, almost 10 times as much. So anyway, like yeah, so like obviously anybody has the same chance to get those advantages, but that's where the auction comes in. So now you're paying for that, right? So you don't have to pay for that. You could just go out and fill your backpack full and start making some tools, and then bring those tools back to your plot and start harvesting your own minerals that you own. But the thing is like while there's free minerals on the outside, like it's basically like free gold on the ground, because even though it might be rocks or trees or whatever that's there, like if you can harvest that, people need all those materials, whether it's iron ore, whether it's like the coal or the clay, because people need that to make the steel, right? So no matter what your worker is working on and gathering, um he can sell that, and you can pick it up for free. But like so then comes in the game theory, like, do I sell these materials or do I actually try to craft a tool out of it, and then I can go use that tool to go work at a job, because there's going to be job postings. People are going to want to be hiring people to clear their land, and tools are going to be in short supply, right? So once you have this tool, your worker is now like, it's just like in the real world, right? You have a worker who has no skills and no tools, he makes whatever, he can carry stuff, he can get paid a transport fee. Like, but then if your worker is highly skilled labor with like construction worker with a truck full of tools, he can make way more money per hour, right? So it's going to same thing in prospectors. Like, there's going to be jobs posted, they're going to be really well paying jobs, probably, I'm guessing, early on. So if you have a tool, even if it's handmade, you can go work for 10 hours, and maybe make enough in that time to be able to buy some stuff to be able to make another tool. So there's no right way to do it. Maybe it's better to go try to craft more tools by hand and keep doing it that way. But ultimately, it's going to be a race to use those tools to build like the first shops, and then those shops are going to have an advantage because they're of course going to be early to be able to sell the full weight tool, right? Because like when you make a tool by hand, it's only 10 hours. When you buy a tool from the tool shop, it's 100 hours. So that's like a major difference in productivity. So obviously, like, the whole game starts to unfold once there's tool shops, but it's going to be a long process just to even get that first tool shop. Like, people are going to see, like, this isn't just like a quick, like it's not going to all unfold and the whole world is going to look like a city in a month. It's going to literally be like this, very like it would be in real life. Like, clearing your plot is going to take time. You're going to have to literally put in hours, cooperate with your friends, hire people to be working for you. um Even just getting your materials from point A to point B, like, you got to schedule that. You wait for someone to take that job. They bring you your stuff that you need. You then use that stuff to craft the item. And of course, that's why cooperation and having a good alliance really, especially the more organized you are with a group of people, like you can do really well in the game by being organized and having a group of people who are all working together on maybe like different aspects. And you'll have a huge advantage over just the person who's coming in all by themselves, like trying to kind of wing it and just buy stuff off the market from strangers.
Yeah, Immortals actually posted their. So I guess they have an alliance already for Grandland.
Oh wow.
And that's something I'm like super interested to see happen in the game. Like, everybody working together to sort of better it. Because if you have an alliance where somebody has like all the materials, like one really good plot for mining materials, and somebody has like a nearly barren plot, that would be a perfect team up because one person gets everything to build it on the barren plot.
Sure. Yeah. And of course, like, there's, you're going to have huge alliances with people with every type of mineral on there. You're going to have some people that have a plot that has full of iron ore, and someone else in the alliance is going to have a plot full of trees, and someone else is going to have a plot full of rocks, and they're all valuable and they're all needed. And it takes a lot of coordination too, because it's like, well, which one's needed first? Well, first, say you need like a sawmill, then everybody can be chipping in and bringing the materials needed to build the sawmill, and then you make, whatever deal you're making with those people, like, hey, look, if you help me build the sawmill, I'll help you build your, I'll give you X amount of labor to help you build your thing, or I'll give you some deal on the wood. And really, I've seen all these different alliances, and they work out all different deals, and people get really creative with how they profit share and how they incentivize people. And then really, like, you have this sort of like this guild where where now you're self-sufficient, like a community, like your community is now self-sufficient, and you have all the tools you need, and you guys are mining gold and doing all this stuff, and you have other alliances that are in a way, the alliances are almost kind of then, they're not really competing because there's a whole map and it's just like, the real world. But ultimately, like, they're competing for workers because what alliance do you want to join? Well, I want to join the one that's like going to give me the most perks. Well, it's like, so then you have people that are basically like, well, what do I bring to the table and what can I get from this alliance? So you have people who put a lot of time into like developing a community and alliances where the incentives are all like aligned together, so that like even the worker is making out good and making more money than they would if they were just on their own, or maybe they're getting tools like fronted to them. You work it out a deal with someone and you're like, hey, I'll give all you guys tools to come work on my land. So now you don't need to pay for tools, but I'll give you the tool, but you can work on my land and I'll pay you a little bit less, but you don't have to buy the tool, which is
Yeah.
expensive and it wears out, And so, but then, someone might say, well, it's more worth it for me to buy the tool myself and go work at this other job, right? So then you lose that worker if you don't incentivize them properly, right? So it's a game of incentives, and the map is huge this time, right? So it's like there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of room for exactly that, like working with people and trying to work with people even in your region of the map is going to become more important probably than it ever has before in any of the other iterations.
One thing, so I guess I was going to ask what tools will cost, but I'd imagine
It's
that's something.
impossible to tell. And
Yeah.
just like we were talking about kind of before the show, right? It's like this perceived value of but you know what? At least there's it's almost like there's a model to look at, because people are going to basically just like in the real life. So like at least it's not completely just like out of the blue speculation of like people guessing, right? Like there's going to be how much per hour can I make if I'm using that tool, right? So people will see, you can look right on the jobs board and see if someone's paying 20 gold per hour, 10 gold per hour, say, and if I got to buy this tool for X amount of gold, well, I make then this amount of gold profit,
Well,
and
and the lifespan. So
yeah, so you have to figure out, I got this much lifespan out of it and I'm going to be able to work for this many hours, and there has to be a profit there, right? Or else it's not worth it. So
right.
like it naturally, just like in the real world, the free market is going to balance this out. Like you can't pay people less wages than what the tools cost, or else nobody's going to come work for you. And you can't charge, you can't charge so much for your tool that it's not worth it for someone to buy it, because they can't go work at a job and still make money from it. So it's like there's this very real time sort of free market that's happening, that's just dictated by the laws of supply and demand. And just like in the real life, right? Like, and we've seen this in past iterations of prospectors, like you're gonna have someone who's like, and I guarantee we'll see this, like you're gonna have people who are just kind of like impatient, and they're gonna be like, I'll pay a ridiculous amount of money for you to come to my plot and help me clear this right now. And they're just going to want people to be there all the time working, because they want to get their building up quickly, right? And so they're
Yes,
going to
at
pay
the beginning, like as nothing exists, whoever's building that shop is probably, because that first shop is going to make a lot of money. So they're going to,
there's going to be a lot of people competing for that first shop.
yeah,
So now you have game theory in that there's now like multiple people. Well, like how much do they really want to pay to be first? Like how much is it worth to be first? Nobody knows, So you see this really interesting game theory playing out where I guarantee we'll see it. There's going to be impatient people, and there's going to be people who are going to be willing to pay a lot of money, and that's also what helps like the FOMO too, because it's like it's kind of cool, because like it's like worth it for someone to pay to be first, because it's worth it for them to pay that much. And then it's worth it obviously for the worker, because they're like, yeah, I'd rather go work for this guy than go harvest free materials, because it's better money to go work for this guy. So you have the aligned incentives there. And then you also then have people say, man, like I, like another guy who's competing to be first, like if he doesn't charge the same as that other guy, then nobody's going to come work for at his spot. So he's kind of incentivized to pay people better too. So then you got all these other people that are kind of incentivized to pay people better. And then the more people that are incentivized to pay people better, the more you have people outside the game going, wow, like there's all these people that are paying really good. So there's this really good working economy in the game. And that's what draws players to the game, because if there's a lot of money going around and there's like a lot of money to be made, then more players will come. And then when more players come, it makes the whole economy function better, right? So you have this like very natural, just like you would in the real world, as cities grow, there's more economic activity, there's more jobs for people, quality of life goes up, right? Like cities become, it's like they grow faster.
Bruce is asking if NFT Gamer is going to have an alliance. Yeah, I would definitely be interested in getting something like that going. We have the channel for prospectors in our Discord, and
Cool,
yeah,
man.
we can all work together in there. Try to get that first shop. I know it'll completely depend on what I have on my land when I find it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it would be awesome to be the first one with that shop. Um,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just know my
even if you're not
property's
first too,
like,
because the thing is like even if you're not first, it's like I guarantee there's going to be a long time. I mean, it could be like months that there's like handful of tool shops, and however many tools that they make, however many tools that they can possibly make, people are going to need them. So there's still going to be like a really high demand for tools. Like
when they're going to need everybody who's using the tools to make more tools.
exactly. Like it
Like,
takes tools to make more tools. So like so there's
yeah,
reluctance even to sell them to like other alliances. You almost want to just sell them to your own alliance because like so if you're making tools, you need obviously wood handles and steel, right? So you're incentivized to give it to your friend who owns the sawmill. He needs lots of saws and axes to keep keep giving you wood. And then the guy making the steel blocks for you, he needs shovels and pickaxes too for
is it
the
going to turn into like prospectors cartels?
they're I mean, in a way,
Everybody's
like
trying to hoard
people
the
people
supply.
people are trying, like it just like in the real world, like people would love to make a cartel, but then through the free market, it's like free market competition kind of like makes it hard, right? Well, it's like it's the same thing in prospectors. People would love to corner a market, and people try to. Like we've seen it where like people literally try to buy up like all the wood plots. And they're like, we'll control the price of wood. We'll just buy so many wood plots that we'll literally try to control the price of wood. And it's like in this map, it's going to be really hard to do that because the map is just so huge. But it
Yeah.
gives you an idea of like people are thinking along those lines, right? But it's really hard to do. And it's just like kind of in real life. Like if you try to corner something, all it's really doing is incentivizing someone else to come along and try to beat your price or try to team up to
I mean, there's few companies that really have managed to corner a market. I mean, even like
yeah.
behemoths like Coca-Cola, I wouldn't consider they've cornered any market because they immediately have like PepsiCo pop up with a competitor for basically anything they do and vice versa.
Sure, and you make a good point. Like even and of course, the Coca-Colas of the world have most of the market share, and that's about building a brand, right? So in the game, there's no such thing as a brand name axe. Like all the axes are created equal, right? But the brand can be, and it's kind of funny because right from early on, anybody who was playing prospectors in the original map will remember the Bonz wagon. So I was producing wagons, and they were the best wagons, by the way. They were basically the highest quality wagons in the entire prospectors map. So I'm kidding, obviously, but like that was like I was like doing some marketing. It was just a funny marketing thing, right? And I was basically like, every time someone would talk about a wagon, I'd be like, yeah, but is it one of my wagons? Because they're better. And then just like playing this funny sort of game, people knew that I sold wagons. People knew that I had a wagon shop, and they knew where it was, and they would come buy their wagon from me. And you could do the same thing. Like you have a brand, you have this NFT gamer brand, right? And you could literally be like, hey, like the NFT gamer TV sawmill. Like if you buy your boards from us, like you're getting the best quality boards. Like, but that's obviously a joke. But the point is you can incentivize them in some way. You could be like, hey, you're part of our alliance, buy our boards, and and then you work the incentives. However, there's a million ways, right? Like you could tie it into your other projects, even, or like be like, hey, everybody who holds this NFT, like you have to hold this NFT if you want to buy wood from my sawmill, and maybe you get a 10% discount if you hold this because the game is actually set up too where you can actually um you can set up your order so that it's alliance only. So I can set up like a price for wood, and I can say like I want 100 pieces of gold for this board, but if you're part of my alliance, you get it for 80 gold, right? So you have to be part of that alliance. Well, you could make it like
You can set
have
discounts on your shop within
like
your
you can
alliance.
make an NFT gamer TV alliance NFT and literally sell it and be like, you're buying your way into our alliance, but that's going to give you all these incentives. Like it's endless. I'm just pulling this out of thin air. I'm just saying like the literally it's like whatever your imagination come up with as far as like incentives, you could do that. And then part of the fun is like gathering your community and rallying them around like your brand. So you guys have this brand, you've built this brand. Like I kind of have this joking thing of like the Bonz wagon, right? But the reality is like it just shows that like going back to your point about Coca-Cola, right? Like they built a brand, people pay for this brand name. And so you got to kind of be creative about how you can create a brand within the game, or why should someone buy it from you, or why should someone join your alliance is more like it. So your alliance is kind of your brand.
Yeah. I think that'll be really cool to see, like, the different alliances form as well, 'cause, like, if it's a super powerful alliance, that might be something that's worth paying into. Like, you get a 15% discount, basically. Like,
Totally.
if an alliance cornered the wood market, you get a 15% discount on all wood in the game.
Yeah.
Um,
And just so people know, it's like it's impossible to like corner the wood market, but people tried it. People literally tried it. It was I think that I'm not sure they were really successful, but like they tried it and they held out a long time, and they did actually make wood prices go up. Like by buying up all the wood and then forcing the wood prices higher, they kind of in a way did like force the price higher, you know. But I think we'll see less of that in this land just because it's so big. But that doesn't mean there's not other ways that people will try to um you know like instead of basically like people will always be trying to get as much money for their items as they can. And that's the free market, right? It's capitalism. You want to try to make as much profit as possible, but of course the market will only stand to give you so much profit, because if there's someone else, if there's a big gap there, that means someone else can come and compete against you and just be willing to make a little bit less, and then they're going to be the better deal, because people will, of course, if all things being equal, they're going to get the one that costs less. So it's like it's truly like a free market playing out in real time of actual incentives based on supply and demand at any given point, you know.
I think it'll be cool to see, like, starting at square zero as well, 'cause
Yeah.
that's really how the gold rush was.
Yeah. And
Um,
I did experience, like, for the people who were around back in 2018, like we did start from zero. We started a map from zero. It was cool. It was cool to actually do that, because I think that it was like the first time, like there was no way to actually just inject like tools into the game. Like it was just a game, and we had to actually like build stuff from scratch. But yeah, like and you'll see it won't, like, because there's people who will build shops like if you have your act together and you have like a bunch of people and you have everyone working together, because really the name of the game is like, yeah, let's get to real tools first so that we can start actually like doing stuff, because the handmade tools, like they just go so fast. Like you spend so much time building them, and then that you use it for 10 hours and it's gone. So like you really need like a bunch of people. Like there's going to be great profit to be made from players who come in the game and do nothing but craft tools by hand. Like a player, like people who invested nothing can go into the game and they're going to be able to craft tools by hand, and they're going to be able to sell them for real money, because people need those tools. And there's going to be people who aren't going to want to have to sit and craft tools by hand, and they're going to buy them from other people who did. And so it's kind of cool. It's going to be cool to see. I remember starting the game from scratch, and I think it'll be cool to see it happen this way again, you know?
Bruce has another question. So first, what about the gallows? I'm assuming that's something in, uh,
Yeah.
forgot the
So the
name, but
gallows
in
is like,
other land.
yeah, so there's like a jail. Yeah, of course there's a jail, and there's a gallows. So like the cheaters, they get hung, like the sheriff is like the anti-bot software is like looking for people trying to automate. They're looking for people trying to cheat. They're looking for multi-counters, right? They're on it, and they will put you in jail.
That's so great.
So so there is a jail and there is a sheriff, and the
Bruce is
sheriff is,
excited.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that something players could become? Like, become deputized or
Oh, so well, not really, but I did deputize. I was telling the guys, like I made some of the guys like mods in the Telegram chat and whatever, and I was like, you guys are deputized, and so I'm like playing the meme. It's like the from Young Guns, like them all putting their hand in, they're like just handing out the badges, So they all have the authority.
I love that. Bruce has a follow-up question. So will there be, since it's kind of starting at square zero, will there be zero government buildings at
No,
first?
the government buildings will be there, just like I think all the maps have launched with government buildings. But the one question is, so because one of the government buildings, or it's not really even a government building, it's more like what we call the public building. So like, of course, at some point there'll be PSS shares for building the railroad, right? So everyone's also wondering, like, how soon will the railroad be built? Well, the railroad will be built as soon as everyone can actually provide the materials to build it. But as everybody knows, like the railroad is like, it takes a ton of materials to build the railroad and to build the train station. So like that won't come until there's like enough shops that are making enough surplus of stuff that they can afford to build the train station, right?
Yeah.
So when the train station starts, that's of course like they build the depot, and that's like where everybody will have it gives everybody free storage, which is actually a huge like benefit in the game, because then even someone who has no plot, you have someplace to store stuff. So say you like have wagons full of trees that you gathered from the free plots, you'll be able to go bring those back to the train station and put them in the train station and save it there. It's like having your own storage, like your own storage locker, but on a public plot. So it's almost like it's free storage. It just is what it is. So that's really, really valuable to have. So in the early iterations of the game, there was no such thing as having free storage. You had to own a plot in order to keep your stuff safe. You could put your stuff on your plot and no one could steal it. But so that's the thing people will realize too with these free plots. Like if you put stuff down, like if you go to that free
Somebody
plot,
come take it.
yeah, like because anybody can see that it's laying there on the ground. So like if you go to the free plot and you say like you harvest like all this wood and then you're making it into boards, you have to keep those boards in your backpack. And then that means you can only fit so much more wood in your backpack next time. Or like every time you have tools, if you have tools in your backpack, those are taking up some weight, right? You can only carry so much things in your backpack. So basically, if you leave your tools on the ground and it's not your plot, someone else could just pick them up and take them. So you have to be careful. Like you can't just
Did you
like,
leave them like with your alliance?
yeah, I mean, if you trust somebody, if it's on their plot, like, so that's actually a good point. Like, so say people, because people think maybe it's a disadvantage to have a plot way far on the outskirts, but really that's kind of an advantage because you can get stuff on the free plot, bring it back to that plot, it's close, and then leave it there, and then go
That's
back to
exactly
the
what I
free
was
plot.
thinking,
Yeah,
because I
and
think
so
mine's
if
right
you know
on the
somebody,
edge of the free plots, and
yeah, so if you know
that's my
somebody,
plan. I'm just gonna go back and forth.
yeah, exactly. And even if you don't have a plot, maybe your friend does, and you could work out a deal with them and be like, "Look, I'm going to use some of your storage." Like if you trust them, right? You got to kind of have a trust thing going if you're going to do that. But you could go back to their plot and just sort of leave all your stuff there. You just take out your stuff out of your backpack and leave it in the storage, and then it's safe there. The only person who can access it is the person who owns that plot.
And Bruce put in the chat that the sale is over, but the sale's still live, right? It's live till the very last
Yeah,
land sales.
yeah, exactly. The auction continues. It's only going now, I think, for another day or two. So we're getting down to the end of it. But yeah, the auction will continue until the Grand Land launches, and there's also still land for sale, like in the original like land sale is still happening. There's also the premium, sort of like what we're calling the Goldshire plots, which really have no other advantage other than they're close to the city center, which, as we were just talking about, in a way they're right now they're the furthest ones from the free stuff, right? So in a way they're sweet because they're close to the government building, which everybody likes, because that's where the original, there's going to be the initial buildings. But if being close to the outside is also not a disadvantage, because as we were just talking about, there's free stuff on the outside, and being close to be able to store that stuff is actually going to be kind of an advantage.
Aren't
But
there
yeah, there's
still
still
ones
plots.
available on the Our Planet site?
Yeah, yeah, that original link, the ourplanet.io prospector sale is still live.
Is it just /prospectors, or I have
Um,
somehow
uh,
lost the link and can't find it again?
dude, I kept sharing it over and over, and I'll make sure to I'll find it and I'll share it with you, just so everyone has it handy. Um, but yeah, then there's of course there's the sale of land that's in the middle. There's the sale of land that's still happening, and then there's also people selling plots like on Atomic Hub. Like some people are selling them for cheaper than they were available for. So there's really like like if you are still looking for a plot, shop around and make sure you're getting the deal and getting the plot that you would like to buy. And in the meantime, I'll let you take it for a minute, and I'm going to dig up this link just so we can
All right,
drop.
I'll stop taking. I was trying to find it as well. Oh, I think we have it in the chat.
Oh, did someone drop it? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Because yeah, I should have had that ready actually, but
No, I
yeah,
should have too. I had it ready and then
like,
I closed it on accident and couldn't
I
find it
know
again.
it's such a weird link. Like I could never remember it because it's got all those weird like it's like not just a website. It's like at the Our Planet website, but we built a special portal specifically to do that sale so that we could do it in PGL. Um,
And then we were
yeah,
showing
whoever
really
dropped
like
that
the
link,
awesome
you're a
stuff.
hero.
Yeah, thank you. I think Amu City Games. Thank you.
There you go.
I always feel like
Um,
I butcher names. It's tough.
yeah, I do the same. Some of them are like non-human readable. So
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like that auction is still going on. They're actually not bad. The prices have come down. I really wanted to get a wagon, and I haven't had chance. Like I kept peeking in on the auctions, and I missed one, and then I was like late on bidding on another, and then I got outbid on another. I didn't want to pay too much.
I've
I
just
was
been
like,
getting outbid on everything, trying to get it for
I
low
know.
price.
So really, sometimes you have to like pick a slot, and then you basically just decide you want to buy it, and like it might come down to like the minute. And if you see you're like competing with a bunch of people, you can like bow out. But if you see that nobody's paying attention, you can like get in that last minute bid and maybe grab something for like a good price. It's really playing the auction is such a game, like because it really just depends who's awake right then ready to bid against you. And that really determines like because sometimes then people just aren't willing to let it go and they bid the price up, and then it's like damn, now you end up paying too much because you're like in a bidding war. And
Yeah.
obviously you want to avoid that, right?
Yeah, because I mean, that could easily get prices back to what they were toward the beginning,
Right, and you don't want to pay too
five
much, but
thousands.
yeah.
Let me look through my questions real quick. Oh, one probably the coolest feature to me is that and this is with most NFTs that are in a game with any sort of like I wouldn't want to call it leveling, but like you could build stuff on your land that makes it have different value than other lands.
Yes.
That y'all have the ability to like when you pull your NFT out of the game to go try to sell it on Atomica, it
Right.
takes the whole description of everything that's on your land.
Right. And there's also an in-game marketplace too, which will obviously have less fees than like taking it out of the game. And it's also really easy then for people to right within the game, you can even right now, even in the current iteration, when people put their plots up for sale in the auction, it shows all the minerals that are on that plot, and it shows what buildings on the plot, like what everything basically just shows the plot. And you can click on it and it shows that you can just go right to the actual plot and look at it and look in the storage and see what's in the storage and see that the building is there and see where it is on the map. But yeah, like that's a good point that you brought up. So like these, because they're now NFTs, obviously it's going to create a really dynamic pricing in the market because you're going to have values of plots that are going to range from like whatever to whatever, and it's going to be like even just valuing those, like obviously so there's going to be a lot of like you're going to have to like almost like do math. It's like it's really like the real world too, because like you have any given piece of properties are totally non-fungible, right? Like the original NFT is a piece of property because like every property is different, every property is in a different location. Even if the locations are similar, they're different. Like there's no, every piece of property is totally unique, so it truly is like an NFT. It's like non-fungible. So the same thing within the land and prospectors. It's going to be, there's going to be almost no two lands that are exactly the same because I mean, of course there are going to be some lands that are really the same, but then again they're in different locations, so they're always going to
Yeah.
be somewhat unique for some reason or another. But then yeah, as soon as someone starts pulling the minerals out of the ground, as soon as somebody puts some stuff into storage there, as soon as someone starts a building, all these things like start changing the value of the property. So when you're looking at a property, and it's the same thing as during the game now, you look in the auctions, sometimes plots would go up for auction that would have a ton of materials in the storage, and people wouldn't realize that like holy crap, this plot's on auction, but like the trees in the storage, or there's more boards or more steel like in the storage than the whole plot is selling for. And so people would then real anybody who's smart enough to pay attention and can realize that like holy crap, I'm actually getting this property like almost for free. And it happened even with gold. Like so some of them, like someone would have so much gold in the storage that the amount of money that the plot would go on auction for, there was more gold in the storage than the plot even went on auction. So you basically got the property, immediately got the gold, and could sell it and be in profit like right away. So it's like, but that that's of course the outlier situation. But the point I'm making is you really have to like look at what the plot has to offer and what it contains to really get a good assessment, like a land assessment,
The
similar.
correct collection name is Prospectors A, right? I just want to make
Yes,
sure. That's the one that's double verified on Atomica.
yes, exactly.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so it's just like you get a you get like an assessment on your property, right? And they take all these factors into consideration, right? Like when you get your property assessment or whatever, right? And they're like deciding like how much your property's worth, and it's like it's
So
still.
that'll decide what it goes up to auction for?
Oh, no, I'm just comparing it to real life. But so like in the
Oh, yeah.
game, if in the game, like it used to be, if you didn't pay your rent, or in the old game, in the legacy worlds, if you don't pay your rent, your land gets confiscated and it goes up for auction. Like, and then it's basically it goes up for auction for like rent like prices, like which is way below the value of the land, right? Because someone could just take over the plot again and pay rent on it, but in this new game, it won't be like that. There'll be no such thing as land confiscation. Like it's true land ownership. That's what's one of the biggest things that's different, right? You own this NFT, it means you own this land forever. So that means when you want to sell this land, it's like who's going to decide what that land is really worth? Well, you're going to like take into consideration exactly what we were just saying, like how many materials are on the how you know what resources are on this plot, and then you're going to look on the market value of those resources. So say like
I
you
mean,
have
they can even have tools stored there, a shop built
sure.
there, like
Sure, but
so
even
many
if it's a
different.
raw plot, right? Like even if I have a plot full of trees, right? Like so who decides how much a plot full of trees is worth? Well, the first thing you're gonna do is go look at how much trees are worth and do a quick back napkin math and come up with a raw value of the wood, and then kind of minus, because it's going to cost money to cut that wood down, say whatever, you're going to come up with a price, like, right? But that's all based on the price of wood at that time, right? And who's to say like price of wood could go up like a lot, right? And then in which case
Yeah.
that plot is like appreciating in value just because the wood is there, the trees are there, right? So yeah, like I said, it's like very dynamic. It's going to be very dynamic pricing, where it's really going to be like the market is always kind of dictating how much a plot is really worth.
Yeah, and like I'm thinking about like connecting plots and everything. Like there's a lot that'll affect the value of the plot because
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
plot itself isn't the value. What's next to it can be the value as well.
that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. So like early on, we built like a village. We went way out in the outskirts and we bought this. Me and all my friends had all these plots. And one of us had to build the sawmill, and the other one built the iron furnace. The other one built this. And we literally had like every kind of building, all within this like pretty short space. So we never had to leave. So it was really quick for us to travel back and forth too. When we ran out of tools and you have to go send your guy to go grab a tool, it only took like 10 minutes, right? It was pretty quick because we were all in this one little village. We called it the East Village. That was back in the days of Max Dapp. I don't know if you guys remember Max Dapp. He's like MDX Crypto, like right now. He's like one of these like popular YouTube channels. But he used to play with us, and he was part of this East Village Alliance. And a bunch of these guys that I knew on EOS, and we all were part of this like East Village Alliance, we called it. And yeah, it's fun. Like you pick an area, and then you just like link up with your bros and like make sure that you have everything you need.
Yeah, that sounds like the best guild in the game. That's the one I want to join. Got to get another East Village in Grandland. Also, yeah, I know I said it wrong last time, so I'm just gonna say City Games. As a question, upon the release of Grandland, will we need to send workers to the plots to discover the resources for them? And the answer is yes, there, right?
Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah, when the map opens, no one's going to know what's on your plot. How that looks on the map, if you've never seen it, is it looks like question marks. Like it shows all the minerals and it just shows question marks. And so once you send your work, but of course, like when you look at the a map overall, you're going to be able to look at your plot. And the one thing you can see is if just like kind of for anybody who's looking at the map behind us, you kind of see trees and rocks. So those are like what people refer to as like the above ground resources. So like because you can see those on the map, you actually are looking at your plot. So when you look at your plot, obviously if you see that there's trees there, so like when the map opens up and you finally get to see your plot, the one thing you are going to know right off the bat is if your property has a bunch of trees on it or rocks. What you won't see is if there's underneath those trees and rocks, there also might be clay, coal, like iron ore or gold. Like, so no matter what you have on top of your plot, it might look like nothing. It could be full of minerals under the ground, or it could be literally a gold mine and have 50,000 PGL or like 70,000. I don't even know. Like the amounts are crazy this time. Like it used to be back in the day, the max gold plot was like 32 million gold. And I think now there's going to be like 50 million gold plots. So like you think like 50,000 PGL tokens. Like I don't know the market price of PGL right now, but you could quickly do the math on
It's like
that.
2/3 of a wax, so that's like what, at least 30 grand, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. So like think of
Or
having like
30,000 wax. So like
yeah, so think of having 30,000 wax like on your plot, like worth of PGL tokens, you know. Obviously it's going to cost you, it's going to need a lot of tools and a lot of time to take that all out. But but since there's no rent, you could theoretically just with your own time build yourself a, you know, you don't have to pay any other workers, right? You could just do it yourself. You could just take your sweet ass time and just mine that gold out without paying any workers. And but you're still going to need tools too. So like obviously having either a bro with a tool shop that you could be trading with, or running your own tool shop so you can control all the costs yourself. Like in any case, you can milk that gold plot forever for the next 10 years, for however many years, you know, like it should be able to, this map should basically be able to go for years and years and years before the resources actually are even close to exhausted. And then of course, if it ever gets to the point where it is exhausted, like the map can always expand too, you know.
Bruce Knox has another question. When can we rob other prospectors? That'll be
Yeah, I
interesting.
mean, it's kind of that's kind of one cool thing. People have always talked about that. We talked about being able to fight, like be able to build like fortresses, be able to basically battle people. I mean, I think the one thing, it kind of like, I think it would be cool. It would be awesome if there's a whole nother aspect. And who knows, maybe in the future, like maybe instead of like expanding the map, maybe in the future there is some whole other game mechanic that's brought in where then instead of just you know, instead of just the game being about resources, maybe it becomes about like conquest somehow. But yeah, anyway, I'm just totally speculating. Like, and
One way
so
that I see other games do it that I think is a good way to make sure people don't just like grief other people, is like you can only be robbed if you rob somebody else.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that, man. So like if you want to play the game, if you're rolling into the riot and you're bringing a gun, like you're there to play, like anything's, it's all fair. But like, yeah. So anyway,
You
like,
can totally just walk through there and nobody can touch you if you
yeah,
want
yeah,
to keep
yeah.
playing
So
prospectors as you like playing prospectors.
exactly right. So the cool, I mean, so, but for now, it's not like that. Like, just so everybody knows, it's basically total, just like property rights, which is kind of like the basis of what civilization is based on. Like, people have to be guaranteed property rights, or else mayhem ensues, right? Because someone has to protect that, what your property that you own, that you own it, and that someone can't steal it. Because then once that happens, you're devolving into like less civilized, like you're not civilized anymore, right? So civilization has all throughout history like started with basic property rights, right? And that's why Bitcoin is so important too, right? Because you have people all over the earth that don't have any access to owning property really, or don't have access to even owning an asset even, but having real property that they can truly own. And so that means basically anybody with a cell phone can own a real asset in owning Bitcoin, right? Anyway, I don't want to diverge.
Pretty
So
cool.
like you own stuff in prospectors, and it's like, yeah, nobody can steal your stuff. And if you keep your stuff on your land, no one can go on your land and steal stuff out of your storage. It's safe, it's protected by the laws of the game, you know. And so at least you have this safe spot. I own this land, my stuff is there, it's protected. I don't need to spend money to protecting it. That's kind of like what the taxes are for, just like in real life, right? Like you're paying taxes to the government, which is like they have the monopoly on violence. So they basically are like the mafia, and it's a protection racket, right? Like that's what governments really are. Like, we're going to protect your property, we're going to take a cut of all your money, but we will fund the police force. And so if someone tries to steal your house, we'll send the police there, and or steal your property, like we'll help you combat that. And so like, yeah, it's like the original protection racket is like the government. So that's kind of like in the
Yeah.
game, there's taxes that goes, and the taxes too also go to, like, you know, there's like a fund, some of it's burned, and some of it goes to the team, and some of it goes to back to the players, because of course there's staking, etc., etc.
Will that be the same distribution as it is on the land sale? Like a quarter of the taxes goes.
Yeah, Bruce Knox says, I just wanted to jump in with this comment. Bruce Knox says, "Fuck the government." So I have to agree with you there, Bruce Knox. Taxation is theft, and we believe in property rights, but of course there is a time and a place for some small amount of taxes, and especially if it's voluntary, and especially if you know what the tax is going towards and it's transparent. So at least within the game, we know exactly what the or what the taxes are going towards, and we can see and essentially have a vote in whether or not we take part in that system. So it's like completely a voluntary system, and yeah, you can choose to go
When
around.
there's like full representation as well. Like I
Absolutely.
imagine
So
that like based on how much you have, you have
I was
more
just
or
going to
less
point out
vote.
exactly. There, not only is it representation, but then you also have the right to go around the state like taxes, right? Like you have every right to start a guild with your friends and pay them under the you could pay them gold directly, right? And you can you don't have to pay employment taxes, right? So in real life that would be like getting paid, like people call it like getting paid under the table, right? So you're basically cutting the government out, right? But in the game there's no rule that says you can't do that, but then of course you're involving trust, so you have to like trust people to do that. And so if you trust people in the game and you want to not pay taxes, you can do that. And so like not that I'm
I mean, that's
advocating.
sort of what the government is. It's something everybody can trust, so, like, nobody has to trust anybody, basically.
Yeah, well, so that's what when you pay taxes, you're essentially saying like you're paying for this institution so that you can have these other services that we can rely on. But within the game anyway, I'm just kind of saying like if you don't want to pay taxes in the game, some of the things, there are ways around it. And anyway, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that like it's not breaking the rules to have your friend come work on your plot and say, hey dude, I'll trade you this tool or this gold or whatever to come work for me, and you don't have to actually pay the taxes, but that's also like a hassle because you have to kind of like work it out with them. And sometimes just putting up the job order and paying the taxes is easier, but you could also put up the job order and put up the job for 1 gold. So this is what happens all the time. So new people come into the game and they're like, oh, these people are cheating. Look at these people. They must be running bots because they put up a job order for 0.1 gold. No one would work for 0.1 gold. And this is, I'm glad we actually somehow got around to this topic, because guaranteed people will be doing this, and then you'll have new people like, hey, look at these people, they're cheating, they must be running bots. I'm just going to tell you right now why that is. Like if you work with your friends, you want to be able to put up a job order so that friend can just come and take that job on your plot, right? Because the job order needs to be placed. So you can put a job order for 1 gold per or 0.1 gold, whatever, and then you can pay them on the side, like directly give the gold to the worker, or give them say tools or something for trade. But just because, I just wanted to say that because inevitably we're going to see this, just because someone puts up a job order for like 0.1 gold doesn't mean people are cheating. It means they're trying to come up with their own system of paying workers, just so everybody knows that, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that people are using bots or like cheating in some way.
And if they are, they'll get
And if they are,
arrested.
they'll go to jail.
Yeah. This one they can't float out of, right?
Yeah, the jail is pretty much like once you're there, you're screwed, and you can't get your gold. It's like do not pass go, do not collect $200, like go directly to jail. Like that's it. Like Monopoly rules. You can't collect rent. You can't collect money. It's just like Monopoly. Like you go to
What
jail.
happens to
You're
their
like,
property?
what?
What
Well, so
happens?
yeah, that's a good question. So I think they could still then sell the property because the property is an NFT. Um, but but their actual workers, which are like you're connected to your gold and stuff, like that's like that goes to jail with your guys. But yeah, I think in this case, so like in the other case, your property would have been like unusable. Like if your guys went to jail and those guys own that property, I think that you would basically be like your property was kind of like stuck. Whereas I think now there's going to be no way your property, you're going to be able to just take it out of the game and sell it. But yeah, that's kind of beside the point. So yeah, so the property's property ownership is true ownership. So yeah, even if your guys go to jail, your plot would still be sellable, I guess.
Bruce has a funny question here, but I think it's still worth asking because he says roll doubles to get out with the Monopoly reference. But is there a way to get out?
I think that's a house rule, Bruce. I think rolling doubles is no, actually no. I think that might actually be in the rules. Also, I think in the rules of Monopoly, it's like if you wait 3 turns and are not out of jail, you automatically get out of jail. And I
Yeah.
think in Prospectors, it's like what used to be a year. Like if your guy went to jail, he was sentenced to 1 year minimum. And I think that might be still how it is, but I'm not 100%. Maybe it's indefinitely. Maybe like your workers are just like permanently out of the game if you
Could
get
you, like, if somebody gets arrested that maybe didn't mean to or
caught.
did
Yeah, there's a
something
sheriff.
untoward without realizing it, do they have a
Yeah,
way out?
there's an appeals process. There is a
Right.
court. It's like the old west, so there's a sheriff, and the sheriff basically has a lot of sway, And because the sheriff has all the information, so if people are cheating, the sheriff pretty much has the record of how you cheated, and it's all on blockchain, so it's somewhat easy to prove sometimes. So if people cheat, if you think somehow you were wrongly accused, you can email the sheriff. Sheriff Andrew is a fair guy. I've seen him let people out of jail, if they truly weren't actually cheating.
Because I feel like um, it's pretty easy to, especially if you're doing some sort of like workaround on the taxes. I'd imagine it's pretty easy to start looking like a bot just from trying to be like hyper
Yeah, but I
efficient.
mean, it's
But
pretty.
I don't know what y'all's
Yeah,
criteria
I mean,
is
it's pretty
for it.
no, but so the whole thing is like, say me and you are working together, and I'm paying you on the side, like in that one case, say we're trying to avoid the worker thing. I'm paying you. We're not paying the tax on them workers, right? Um, it would be really obvious if you looked at my account and looked at your account, like that you're a real person and you're running your own business, and that in fact, like the whole deal becomes very transparent because it's all on chain. It
Yeah.
becomes obvious that you work for me, and then even though we didn't pay the real worker fee and the taxes, it would then be obvious that I then transferred some gold from my worker to your worker. And it would be obvious that you did work, you did a labor, and then the labor was exchanged. What would seem really obvious if you were a bot was if you came and worked for me all the time for 0.10 for zero point 0.1 gold, and I never paid you anything. Then it's like, well, why is this person actually going and working for this other person for free? Or like if there was a bunch of people and all the resources were all going back to this one account, it becomes obvious if the incentives aren't aligned. Like it's really easy to see on chain. Like if you're working, you obviously have your own incentives. You're trying to make money, and you're your own account that has a whole account history too. You got to remember too, like it's the blockchain, so you could see that this whole account actually has trading history on Atomic. You can see that they play other games, right? And you can see that they're just two completely separate accounts with two humans like actually operating them. Whereas a bot account usually has like no actions, and then they're working. They work for nothing, and then and then whatever shit that they make when they work, they're giving it all to this other account. It's like that's obvious that like there's no aligned incentives. You're totally just cheating. You're obviously trying to combine, have multiple accounts essentially, and in that case, as Bruce is saying, get the rope,
Yeah.
straight to the gallows, hang them. You get nothing. You cheated. You stole fizzy lifting drinks.
That'll be pretty fun to see, like the first person that gets arrested and just that
There'll
plays
probably
out.
be people arrested like day one.
Probably. I mean, I feel like that's going to be the day when most people are arrested.
Oh yeah, well yeah, no, that's true. No, I
As
think
soon as they realize they're all going to jail, they're going to be like, "Well, this is not profitable."
no, what it'll be is there'll be a few weeks in when all of a sudden people start realizing like, holy shit, there's free money on the ground on the outskirts. All you got to do is go pick it up and put it in your backpack. And then people will be like, holy shit, if I just had 50 more workers, I could go collect a lot of shit on the ground. And people will think they're really smart, and they'll start a bunch of wax accounts, and they'll send out all the stuff, and they'll have the workers collect up a bunch of wood, and then they'll have that worker go back and give that tool all to the one account, and it'll be really obvious that that person just cheated, and then they'll get put in jail, So don't try to do that. Don't try to game the system. Just work with real people so that you can actually form an alliance and everybody can win instead of trying to like have more workers, because that's cheating.
Oh yeah, yeah, because it's based on how many accounts you have.
Yeah, I mean, you're only allowed to have one account. You're supposed to play with your own account, And so, of course, you know, and of course, like people sign in from accounts. You know what accounts are coming from what IP address. It
Yeah.
becomes pretty obvious if one person is trying to run like a whole bunch of accounts, basically.
Well, especially like based on the time between actions, like human communication takes a bit of time. It wouldn't
Absolutely.
be.
And if it's always on the same hours and the same time, and they all log in and they're all right in a row, and it's all so easy with the blockchain to like analyze all this. So yeah, obviously that's why I said the sheriff knows what he's doing. He has a pretty good they have pretty good software for detecting bots and also just like realizing when people are cheating. And so
QR Bist is asking like, what if you have more lands? Which I guess makes sense because you have to like keep up with both lands, but
yeah,
that's kind of like
I
what you
mean, yeah,
signed up for by getting more than one.
yeah, some people have a lot of lands, and so then you're managing. It's just like in real life. If you're managing a lot of properties, like you're gonna like have some work. Maybe you have all your workers on one of your plots, and you pay people to work on the other plots, or maybe you have no work happening on the other plots for now. or maybe you have one worker. Say you own 3 plots, you keep one of your workers at each plot. I mean, but that's all still very obvious that that's you, and you can own 50 plots and still not cheat. And if you're working with a big alliance, you could have all these alliance people working on your plots, and it's still obvious that they're all real people who are working and not like one person running 50 fake accounts, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to look through my notes here, see if I had any other questions. Oh, one question I definitely do have is on the map, how do the coordinates work?
That's a great question, man. I mean, they start from 0, double zero. They start from the zeros, right? And they count all the way. And then on the other axis, it starts
But
from
like, which
zero.
one's double zeros? Like here, here, here.
Man, that's a good question. So someone just posted it in the someone has the actual map. You can look it up. I don't have the link to it right now, but it's in the Telegram, and it's probably on the Discord as well. And we can make sure that we post it up. Someone should then post it back in your Discord so people can reference it, put it in the prospectors on your Discord. But of course, we're all going to be able to look at the map in 2 seconds, and you're going to be able to see it in 2 days. But people want to know. So you can someone plotted it out. But yeah, I don't have the link to that right now, but it's right in the I just saw it in the Telegram just recently.
Good. I'll check that out, and then anybody who wants to see that, you could either hop into their Discord. The link is in the description on our YouTube, or hop into our Discord, and I'll make sure I post that into the Prospectors channel. I would imagine it's actually already there.
Yeah, it might be, and if it's not, we should. Or I'm hoping that it's in our Discord as well, because I know I saw it in the Telegram. I didn't see if someone forwarded over there. Usually those guys are pretty on top of it. So
Yeah.
we'll try to make sure it gets spread around. But like I said, in 2 days it's gonna be moot. We're all gonna log into the game, and it's gonna be really easy to tell right where they all are.
Will it like highlight where your lands are on the map? I would assume.
Yeah. In fact, there's all kinds of cool filters. You can filter out like my plots, my friends' plots. You can star favorite plots, so you can remember like this plot has this on it. This plot has this. This is the tool shop I like to go to. This is my bro's plot that has the sawmill, and you can like star them as favorites. And so when you're looking at the map, there's filters, you know. So yeah, that's why I was kind of telling everyone too. Like, if you're not familiar with some of the stuff, get on the Wax map and just play around a little bit. Look at the map. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, this is probably one of the old maps then. This can't be the new map because it looks like there's already resources on it. Yeah, this is like this looks like one of the old ones.
Let's see if the homepage says.
Yeah, so that's Ivan's tool. So that's probably referencing the Boomtown actually. So the Boomtown was just like a small map. So the map now is going to be like multiples of that map. Yeah, that's an old map. That's from the but there is an actual someone plotted out. I saw it where they plotted out the Grand Land by coordinates. But
I can't find this real quick.
Yeah, we'll find it. We'll dig it out. I'll make sure it gets to you guys like after the show. We'll get it to you. But yeah, the filters do help, and so there's a lot of little tips and tricks like that just by playing around and familiarizing yourself with like the interface. Check out the tools that are there and kind of play around and get to know what all the buttons mean. It'll get real. And then it'll be like really intuitive and second nature once you're really familiar with it and you're logging on every day and looking at these different tools. And you usually get used to looking at the map in one way, and that's kind of like what you end up using, or you'll use like one filter and switch on and off just to like see where plots are or something like that. But yeah, like there's definitely tools like that. So that's one advantage of having like multiple, like literally 4 years of development on this game. Like over time, there's been all these things that have been added in, like originally the map didn't have any filters. And then eventually there was like, that was just like an upgrade and another upgrade, and another upgrade. And over the years, there's been upgrade after upgrade, and the game experience has gotten smoother and whoa, there you go. So that's looking like a Grand Land. That is a Grand Land, because you could tell like how huge it is by how big the square, like each of those squares represents like almost like an entire prospector's map.
Hey, I'll make it a little bigger. I don't know which one is which quadrant. I would guess this is the north and northeast.
Yeah, it's really hard to say when it looks like that, which way it is, but it's always turned like, so that's the funny thing, is that it's like it's on a diamond shape, but then when you see the map, it's square. So it's always like turned one bit. So like north might be that top left hand corner. So like true north might be that very top left-hand corner and it might be pointing north. Whereas like the bottom right-hand corner might be pointing directly south. So if you think of it like that, so if you drew
Oh,
a
I
straight
see.
line, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how the map orientates. But I'm not 100% sure if that's actually the north corner. I'm just saying that's how it's something like that. But I think that's probably how it is. But yeah, like there'll be a map too where you can specifically. I mean, obviously you'll be able to use the real map and you'll see exactly where your plot is.
I think I just get confused mostly because it's like oriented diagonally.
That's what
And
it
the
is.
X Y is not. It doesn't fit to the diagonal in my brain. I can't imagine where they are.
Yeah, but I mean, so when you look at the XY is on this perfect square, right? So like if you forget about all the northeast, southwest, and you just think about coordinates, it's easier to think. It's easier to visualize as a cube like this because then you can think, okay, if you're like at 50, say the map was 100 by 100, and you know you're 50 by 50, you know you're halfway across and then halfway up. You'd be like, but of course it goes from like 0, 0, so you're going out. You go out towards the outside edge. So it'd
Yeah.
be like 50 and then minus 50. And you could just literally visually think, okay, 50 means on the positive side, it goes all the way out to the right, and negative 50 means down 50. So you'd be in the bottom corner. Or if it was like 50-50, you would know that it was like all the way to the end and all the way up, Or if it's like negative 50, it's all the way to the left and then all the way down 50. So it's like it's in your mind, you can almost actually visualize it as a square with an X and Y axis, and then kind of go up, kind of start from the middle. And if it's a negative number, you're going this way. And if it's positive, you're going this way, kind of thing. And then up and down, the same thing. And you can almost just like look at the coordinates and know where it is on the map just by kind of thinking about it that way.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, sorry about that. Thank you for joining us today. I think I've run out of questions. If anybody in the chat has any questions for Bonds before we let him go, now is the
Yeah,
time.
man. I think we got a lot of information. I know we meandered through, but I think it was good because we kind of then found our way to a lot of different little points that like often get missed, and like they're common things that come up. So it's good to kind of just roll around and toss things out and see where the direction of the conversation goes. And it seems like we hit on a lot of the key stuff. Of course, like people will have tons of questions, so go to the discords, and if you have questions, especially when you're new, don't be afraid to ask questions. People are always willing to help. I know there's things that are confusing at first. People have just the basic mechanics, like taking something out of your backpack. Make sure you do that tutorial, like we said earlier. If you've never played the game before, and try to go on the wax map and at least familiarize yourself with the UI, just so on day one you get that much of a better a head start. Bruce says, "What's going to be your day one move?" I think the day one move is, I mean, everyone's going to want to go to their plot first because it's kind of like when you want to go check out your house, like, I want to go check out, and because really that's going to be like it's like Christmas, right? Like, did Santa come? Like, what's on my plot? Like, oh man, look, Santa came. Like, go to your plot, like dig on the ground. You're going to explore like what's actually on my plot because like people are going to be like, oh wow, okay, so I have a boatload of iron ore. Okay, well, great, that's cool. I have a boatload of iron ore. But it's like, okay, well, that's cool though, because people need iron because they want to start building tools by hand. So like right off the bat, you could leave your guys on your plot and just start mining your own iron ore and then put it up for sale in your plot in your store, or go to other people's plots and sell it to them if they put up a buy order, right? But the other move might be, okay, I know I got a bunch of iron ore and it's sitting on my plot and it's safe and it's there and it's going to be there forever. I don't need to touch it. I might rather send my guys out to the free plots and gather up wood and even free iron ore from the free plots for now while it's still free. And then
Will
because
those run out?
yeah, because eventually it'll run out, right? The free plots,
Yeah.
people pick it bare, right? They'll just pick it until there's literally nothing left on the free plots eventually, The free plots eventually will be like a complete strip of barren wasteland because people will pick every last item of free materials off of it eventually. But at the beginning it's free. So like that might be the play, is like go out to the free plots and gather up yourself some materials and then bring it back to your plot and start like crafting up some tools. But yeah, it's really the first day move should be talk to your alliance, Figure out where you guys are building your tool shop, where you guys are building your sawmill. Start figuring out who's got what on their land. It's like get your spreadsheets ready, get your organization on. Like the first day should really be like ultimately organizing with other people is really the best move you could possibly be making. But even if you have no other people, the first move might be go send your guys out to the free plots, make some tools, find someone who wants to buy it, and now you're playing to earn.
Do we know what time of day it's going to happen?
What type of day, like the map will launch?
Like what time of day? Yeah, the map will launch.
I don't think they've made the timer go yet, but I think historically, like all the launches have always been around like the midday of Eastern Standard Time. So like noon, like in between 11 a.m., noon, and 1 p.m. of like Eastern Standard Time. So you guys can kind of use that and use that as a judge. But I have a feeling like they're going to put up a timer. That's usually how we've done it in the past. Like,
Okay.
so that everybody knows the exact minute that the thing is going to start. Because I think people are going to be like really excited to get in there and make things happen. So I guarantee like there'll be a timer. You'll know ahead of time exactly when the Grand Land's going to start. And yeah, it'll be exciting. It'll be like kind of like a literally a gold rush. People will like be running to the outskirts to gather resources.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. Awesome. Well, thank you for giving us an hour of your time today and for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, bro. I had a good time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you to everybody for watching. As always, the support is much appreciated. Yeah, and I hope everybody has a good Tuesday and everybody shows up on Thursday because I will definitely be heading to those free plots.
Yeah, man.
All right, bye everybody.